Kia ora, good morning. So, I've come up with an idea for a movie. I probably hit record too soon because I've got a protein bar in my mouth. Just give me a second. I'm trying not to talk with my mouth full. Timing was wrong. So, I've been trying to make sure that with everything I write and create, I'm covering all four corners of the globe, telling their side of the story of history and that sort of thing, but also where it includes my own ancestry. I've found out a lot about myself, like how Māori people have been genetically connected to Romans and Greeks and Jews, and indigenous China and Taiwan and Chile and Peru and all of these places, Mesoamerican. And then I've just recently found out through my Egyptian bloodline, my Al Rashid bloodline. I'm also, I mean, I knew I was Iranian, but Yemeni. I'm Yemenis, and is it Yemenis? Yemenian, Jordanian, and also Jew. I've got a lot of Jewish blood in me. My grandpappy, Caliph Harun al Rashid, it was his father, was married to a Yemeni woman who was Jewish, whose ancestors were Jewish, like, ancient Jewish. But she converted to Islam when she married my grandpappy, if I've remembered that correctly. So, in writing all of this stuff, I've covered everything from Japan, China, New Zealand, because obviously the War Babies is going to be telling the story of the Mighty Battalion, which I had uncles in that were in, but it will also tell the side of, the Germans and the Russians and the Polish and the French and the British and, everyone's story from their perspective. It's not the characters in it aren't necessarily going to be based on real people, loosely based on my Uncle Nick and the Mighty Battalion and that, but not necessarily based on real people. I don't know how far into historical fact I want to go with it. The battles will probably be mostly real, but it's more about, it's a story. The War Babies is more getting people to take a long, hard look at war and how it's not necessary, and it's never the people fighting on the battlefield that it affects. And how it needs to stop, because the people who are sending the soldiers to war, the people who are sending the ones to fight on the battlefield, their lives are never affected. They make money from it, and it needs to stop. So it's more the way that I've written it, the way that you're going to see it, and it is going to be whoever I get to do the filming, like the director and that, they're going to have like an incredible cinematic mind for the vision that I have, because I want the cinematography to express the emotions, and I need the actors to be bloody good. Because while there might not be as, how do I explain it? While there's going to be talking, there's also going to be a lot of music that conveys the emotions and also the expressions on the actors' faces, and the way that it's filmed cinematographically is going to do all the talking. I want people, when they leave the theatre after watching that movie, to be in floods of tears, because I know I was crying writing it. I get emotional writing it. I got it when I first came up with it and I started writing it out. I was getting emotional. My son would love it though, because it means that we would have to go around buying decommissioned tanks and working on special effects and sound effects and all of that, where it's going to look like, because we need to recreate actual battles and have scaled down warplanes and that sort of thing, because you've got to remember we're going to have a lot of kids that are helping make this movie. So, yeah, kind of Memphis Belle, Tuskegee, Tuskegee Airmen, sort of. I want it to be cinematically just like heart. I want to get into people's hearts, because when you get into their hearts, you get them thinking. And it's like this movie is take a second look and check yourself before you start sending people to war. But doing it from the perspective of the Māori battalion, because that's the perspective I know from, and my uncle Sonny, who I think fought in Africa. I'm not sure. I'm good, because my dad's side of the family don't talk a lot. I think as well, I don't know if Uncle Sonny was stabbed, but I know he was pushed down the stairs, and I'm pretty sure he died from a broken neck and head injuries, because the Fijians pushed him down the stairs. They jumped him after he beat them up. He was like 6'7". He could crush beer bottle tops in between his fingers. He was that strong. And he saw this woman being R-worded by these Fijians, and so he beat the crap out of them, and then they waited for him to come out of the pub one night and pushed him down the stairs. I don't quote me on the stabbing, but I think he died of a broken neck and head injuries. He'd literally just come back from the war. So my Sydney sent her baby off to fight in a war, praying for his return, and when he finally came back in one piece, he was murdered for doing the right thing. So yeah. So I want to tell my Nana's side of the story. I want to bring the Arabs and the Persian side of my ancestry into what we're doing, because then as well, any Arab, Persian, Middle Eastern kids that we get coming to the school, it gives them the opportunity to be actors and to help make the movie. And this is going to be this is going to be an animated movie, and I want to do it in the style of the animation that they did for Aladdin, Disney's Aladdin, the original Aladdin, with Robin Williams in it. I want the illustrations to be just like that. So not as refined as the Amber Rose, which is going to be done like Snow White. It will be more kind of modern graphics, which we haven't done. And then I was thinking, because I've been looking at a lot of stuff, photos and that, to get illustration and animation ideas for other movies. And a lot of stuff about Iran's coming, like the buildings and oh my God, like the mosaics and the stained glass windows and all of these beautiful things. And it's like, I need to bring that into my story. I'm from a long line of pharaohs, caliphs and sultans, and I don't talk about it because we're kind of not allowed to talk about it, especially not here, where you're seen as a villain if you're Persian or Middle Eastern. And yet I'm that, and I've risked my life and limb to protect the people of Great Britain and the world from the people who are trying to turn us into the villains and the bad people. And so I'm telling my story, and I am 100% helping the people of Iran fight the bad guys, because they deserve to be fought, because the things they're doing need to be stopped. And it's not okay that these men and women have been sent on the battlefield to fight a war of sin. We are in a holy war. This is like the Crusades all over again. And I know that I had ancestors on both sides of the Crusades, from, the Scottish and English side to the Arab side. My ancestors fought each other, not realizing that they were fighting to bring me into the world so that I could use my inherited gift to do something to try and stop wars from ever happening again, at great risk to myself. And I stand by the people of Iran, but I also stand by my king, because I know he's innocent too. Therefore, I'm going to announce here and now that the movie that I'm going to make, which is going to be personal, for me it's personal, although there's a bit of personal in everything I've created, this for me is personal. The movie that I was talking about a few months ago, The Brave Knightress, right, that was like a seed that I had planted that kind of I hadn't paid a lot of attention to. But in looking for illustration animation ideas, it started coming up again, The Brave Knightress. But I think the reason why it never grew into anything is because things hadn't happened to make me want to grow it into something that felt right for me biorhythmically. Remember I was saying the other day, it has to feel right, because everything I create is biorhythmically infused, and it's to heal people. And it's to make people see things from a different perspective. I want people to go away from the things that I create and think about it and recorrect negative behaviours and make them change their views on race. Got nothing to do with religion. Religion and politics, that's personal. That's got nothing to do with me. This movie has nothing to do with politics or religion. I'm not here to offend anybody with this movie that I'm going to make. This is my story. And it's a story of a young woman who pleads with her father, who is a king, to let her become a knight. That's what The Brave Knightress is about. Because I had said to the king, if I do a good job and I can save you in Great Britain from Starmer and Trump and that, I want Keir Starmer's knighthood. But I said, if I ever get a knighthood, I want to be called Sir. I don't want to be called Dame, because a damehood is for pussies. And I'm not a pussy. I'm a warrior. And I have shed blood and pus and guts and everything to protect the people of Great Britain and my king. Protecting his honour has meant everything to me, and especially his mum, the Queen, because I know what it's like, because the same thing happened to all my ancestors with Saudi Arabia and that. They came after the Al Rashids of Egypt, and because of them, we've not been allowed to stand up and be proud of our history and our heritage, and we've done a lot. We have brought a lot to the world. My ancestors, we helped make Mecca what it is, and we introduced Islam to Persia. Well, to Palestine and countries like Tunisia and Morocco and all that are Islamic because of my ancestors, and we shed a lot of bloodshed. Like, we sacrificed a lot. We were murdered, slaughtered, like all over the place. Right up to my Uncle Sonny, right up to me. Like, we've sacrificed a lot trying to do the right thing by people and allowing them to believe what they have the right to believe in when it comes to who they are and where they come from. Sip. But the brave Sir Knight is what I gave Victor Orban's character in League of Superhero Toy League. So I'm kind of stealing his name, and that is playing on my conscience, because the brave Sir Knight is a teddy bear dressed in a knight's costume in the Superhero Toy League. That's his name. But I couldn't think of anything else, so that's what I gave it. So The Arabian Knightress is what I'm going to be renaming it. And it is a story of a young woman whose father, I don't know if I'm going to make him a pharaoh, a sultan, or a caliph, maybe a sultan, just like Arabian Nights. It was when we all kind of headed over to Turkey that they changed the name to Sultan. I might call him Sultan, I might call him Caliph, I don't know. Pharaoh, I don't know. But the daughter, there's going to be a holy war that breaks out. And the daughter is going to go to her father and say, let me fight with them. Let me fight with them. Because 2,000 years ago, Persian women ruled. Persian women were the rulers. And when the men went off and did the important things, it was the Persian women that ruled everything, and they were assassins. Persian women were very good assassins. They were incredible warriors, same like Māori women were incredible warriors, and my Celtic ancestral women and the Gauls and all of they were incredible warrior women, and that shows in me. And I've told all the other sides of the story, but not the Persian side. And I'm very proud of my Persian side. When I've been looking at the photos of these buildings and it makes me beam with pride that I have a little tiny piece of my blood that's responsible for bringing that kind of art and beauty to the world. So I want that to be embodied in the Arabian Knightress. And I'm calling it the Arabian Knightress because it's a play on the Arabian Nights, 101, 1001 Nights, the collection of storybooks. 1001 Nights, yeah. And like Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves and all that sort of thing. But it's also because, and how I'm going to write the story as well, it's going to be telling the story of how a British king and a sultan come together through this daughter to fight invaders from trying to tear their kingdoms down. And so she's begging her father, please let me fight, I can do this. Like Mulan, except you know how Mulan is undercover, she hides the fact that she's a girl. The Arabian Knightress doesn't. I don't want to call it the Arabian Assassin because it's a children's movie. So I'm making it Knightress, and because of how I've written the story, she's defending two kingdoms at the same time. And everybody's like, she's not going to be able to do it. She's a girl. And so the king, her father, he's amused and he's like, well, if because she's a princess. And she's supposed to be like doing princess things, but she doesn't want to be a princess. She wants to be right in there defending her people. And so she talks her father around. It's going to be like a little bit, there's going to be humour in it, obviously. Not in War Babies, but like in the Arabian Nightress, there's going to be humour in it because it's going to be a Disney style one, and there's humour in that, in those movies, especially like Aladdin with Robin Williams. I mean, he made that whole thing. But because of my bloodline, she's going to be not only a princess, but she's going to be the genie as well. And in Lucian's Dragon, Anahita is a Persian name. And it means, I can't remember, is it pure water? Or purity? Something like that. So I might, no, I can't call it Anahita because then it's going to confuse everybody with Lucian's Dragon, eh? It's just that she is a dragon who holds time, so she's in I don't know, but anyway, I'll give her a Persian name, but she begs her father to train to be a warrior, and he wants to make it hard for her, or like he wants to put her off it. You don't realize what these warriors and these assassins and that have to do to protect our kingdom, and that just sit and be a princess and dash yourself in ood and goat's milk and all of that and blah blah blah. And she's like, no, that's not who I am. So he's like, all right then. She talks him around, and so then he says okay, but he makes the training hard for her, partly for his own amusement, and partly because he's trying to put her off it, because like secretly he doesn't want his daughter going off to war. In case the war breaks out, he doesn't want to lose his daughter. But she does it. She does the training. He makes it harder for her than the training is made harder for her than anybody else, but she does it because she's stubborn and she refuses to back down. And then the invaders come, and they weren't expecting invaders to come, but she knew exactly what to do, which is why I've been looking at photos of castles and that where they've got really high walls, because in the story that I wrote, there's this wall that she has to get over. The only way to get to save her family that have been held hostage on the inside is to scale this wall. But it's like the one in Edinburgh Castle. It's surrounding Edinburgh Castle. It's impossible. It's impenetrable. But she finds a way to get up it, and then saves the family. And through her saving her family, she ends up saving the other king as well, who's been caught in the middle. I'm not going into the storyline, but then that's why she ends up not only being known as like, a Persian warrior, but she's also made a knight. So it's Arabian Knightress. And then I get to bring in artists that can recreate those beautiful mosaics and stained glass windows, and oh my god, it made me want to weep. We'll get to bring all of that into the animation of it and just make it look absolutely stunning. I don't know if I want to bring in like flying carpets or anything like that. I don't know that I want to go that far. But she will be like a genie in that my ancestors were within their own rights, even though they were royal, like high priests and high priestesses. They could do things with the supernatural. They knew how to work with, like, the cosmos, and they knew about atom and electricity, and my Egyptian side especially. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know whether to make her the daughter of a pharaoh or a caliph or a sultan. It depends. If I want to make her a genie, have those magical powers, then I'm more than likely probably going to have to make her Egyptian. She'd be like an Egyptian Knightress. But that's still growing. But it means that I will be able to bring in Middle Eastern musicians, which would be so exciting. People that can speak the language, obviously, because we're going to have to bring in, Arabic words. And yeah, I mean, if it was ever the sort of thing that we turned into a live action, then I'd need Middle Eastern actors in that. But I'm already going to have a tie there because I want to do trade in Tunisia for the dates and coffee and bricks. Like I was saying the other day, I want to build a dragonarium in Malta. So, and I want to fill it up with orphans from like Libya and Syria and all over, all over, wherever they need a home in the Middle East and Persia and that. So, So it has always been there, but I didn't grow it into anything until now. And I've made no bones about the fact that I've been using my gift to let Iran know exactly what Allah and God have granted them in terms of this holy war. So I'm doing my bit in the shadows, but in a really big way. And now I'm going to turn it into a movie. So I'll sit and think about the storyline some more. I kind of know how she's going to end up helping the two kingdoms. It's kind of like the Crusades, but where they're accidentally fighting each other. And that's all I'm going to say. And it's why she ends up being made a knight, but a girl version, so a Knightress, but also an Arabian one. So, yeah, for her services to the Middle East and Great Britain, basically. Although I don't know that I'm necessarily going to call it Great Britain, but it's sprouting. So I'm just putting that out there. When I had wrote The Quantum Menace, where Olivia, named after the olive tree, was a woman, where The Quantum Menace was a woman called Olivia, but I changed it to Benjamin Day. Her costume, her superhero vigilante costume was very Persian. So my dad used to say, and she'll wear a veil, she'll have the yashmak, she'll wear a veil. My Arabian Knightress will, because Olivia very nearly wore one in her costume design, but it was very Persian in aesthetic, Persian assassin and aesthetic. Because my dad always said that I had the eyes for a veil. He used to say to me, "You've got the eyes for a yashmak." If you wore a yashmak, he said, men would be falling at your feet because my eyes, and because yashmaks are all like decorative and being royal, they would have, and back a couple of thousand years ago, if I wore a yashmak, it would have had like rubies and emeralds and all of that adorning it to highlight my eyes. And they were see through, like you could see your nose and your mouth, and it's not like burkas or anything like that. Yashmaks were alluring, but my dad used to say that I had eyes for a yashmak, so she'll get to wear a yashmak in the animation, like Jasmine and Aladdin and all of that, but where she's the heroine. So if there's any traditional old Muslim people out there having a fit, just look up history. There were Persian warrior women out there who were bloody good at what they did. It's just they weren't usually from the royal households, and I am. So have a fit who you like, but I don't care. So there you go. So that's another one to put a pin in. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite ano. Ka kite ano. Ka kite ano.